This is my father's eulogy. As we all know, this is a very sad day for my family and our friends, but knowing my father and everything he had to live through in his life, we know that he is in a better place. When we think about that alone, we know he would have wanted for our sadness and our burden to begin to lift. My father lived his childhood exactly how any farm boy would have wanted, but he had this dream of a military career. At the age of 18, he entered the U.S. Army to begin this journey. However, during the final stage of his basic training, he passed away from what they originally thought was a heat exhaustion. After a 2-week coma, they determined that he had type 1 diabetes. This then led to an honorable discharge. After a short stint in the Army, my father spent many more years at home, but then he decided to move away from his hometown to start over. A few short months after moving, he met my mother, and then they moved in together. This whole time, my father was fighting his health. He seemed healthy physically, but in his mind, he was not able to accept that his disease had to have a major influence on how he lived his everyday life. Most people only know that they have a few short months to live, but not my father. He knew that anyone on dialysis is given an average of 7 years to live. My father often told me it was a gift and a curse. He knew to enjoy what he had left with his friends and family, but he also knew he wouldn't live to watch my sister and myself grow up. He was able to plan his own funeral, and he knew what he held dear would be incorporated in his final day. I remember the day my mother and father went to the funeral home to plan this last event. Me being the daddy's little girl that I am, he asked if I had any idea what color his casket should be. I, of course, answered him as honestly as a 9-year-old girl could. I told him a dark blue, shiny one. And as you can see today, he listened to my request. But that was just the kind of man he was. He always wanted his two girls happy. If you knew my father, you knew he was a man's man that could play with dolls when begged. He loved to joke and pull pranks, and he loved to work outside decorating the house for Halloween and Christmas. As we move on from this day, I hope everyone will hold him close and dear in our hearts. As we know, he will no longer be suffering and in pain.